Hi, this is Heather Derome from heatherderome.com and from the sonatasandpartitas.com. This video is the third video of a four-part series about the B minor Allemanda from the first partita BWV 1002. So if you haven't seen the other videos, have a look at them. We discussed this Allemanda in a little bit more of a philosophical sense, you might say. We look at the historical perspective. There was a lot of things happening in Europe around that time, and in a way that Allemanda sort of encapsulates it all. In this video, I want to discuss the actual music of the Allemanda. I want to talk about the binary form and how we all know that a binary form is in two sections, and first part cadence is on the dominant and the second part cadence is on the tonic, and both sections are repeated, so they are thought of as separate, but it is also a continual piece. And it's interesting to look at how Bach deals with the sort of overall arch of the whole piece in his binary movements. So beginning with this Allemanda, the first thing about it I want to discuss is, if you're a guitarist especially, when I hear the opening chord of this on the violin, it sounds very brilliant to me. And I'm not sure why, but something about like the actual pitches on the actual instrument is very bright and sparkly. And also the fact that it's a quadruple stop on the violin, that's like a big gesture with the bow. You have to go across all the strings. On the guitar, you can pretty much get away with making it a non-event. And be aware of that. The thing about it too, I find it sounds like you're like moving out of the ecclesiastical world and getting plunked down into courtly life of pomp and ceremony and marble floors and big rooms with high ceilings and beautiful paintings on the walls and dancing. And to me, that's all encapsulated in this opening chord. So just give it some space. And so for the ornament here, you can play I, M, P, A, I, and it's easy to get it fast and smooth like that. So now our bass line's gone B to A sharp, to A, G, to F sharp. This F sharp is our note. It's not Bach's, but Bach couldn't put it as lower than his lowest note on the violin, so he may have if he wanted to. So we have this beautiful bass line. Possibly this. And now we've established our key of B minor with this nice descending line. And now, change directions, go up and go to the relative major. And here, it's like Bach is tipping his hat off to the horn section in the orchestra. The little horn call. And so now we have step 5 of B minor to E minor. Here, in our edition, we have this fingered in the first position with open strings, which is more congruent with how Bach would have done it. When I was recording it, I decided I preferred it on the upper position with the fatter strings, so it's an option. And here Bach has this little line, and then he repeats it up a fourth, except that he brings the last part down an octave. And now here, we're moving from having 2 chords per bar to 4 chords per bar. So the chords are speeding up because we are heading towards our half cadence. So now we have a 5/7 of B minor to B minor, the beautiful appoggiatura to F sharp. So now we've landed on F sharp here, but F sharp is not home yet. It doesn't feel like home. This is like still the dominant of B minor, and it wants to resolve to B minor. So how does Bach deal with this? Well, he's going from having 4 chords per bar to the F sharp chord throughout the whole measure, going back to triplets, and now we get that B. But that's all we get of the B minor. And then Bach goes off to other things. He's going off to the circle of fifths here. So he has E, A sharp, D, G sharp, C sharp, to F sharp minor. So Bach has just gone through basically the whole circle of fifths, B, E, A, D, G, C, F. He's landed on F sharp minor, and then to the dominant of F sharp minor. So now we actually have like changed our home base from B minor to F sharp minor. And just in that one measure through that circle of fifths, Bach has done that. And so I'd like to discuss how you can approach this, and actually how you could hopefully not approach it. Here, if you're a guitarist, especially if you're a guitarist, it's very tempting to think that this is an E minor chord. It looks like our basic E minor clamp. And but Bach would not go from F sharp major to E minor in second inversion. He just doesn't do that. It is a circle of fifths. And one thing you could think of is if you were an organist in a church, and with your foot you just drop down this tonic pedal, and then above that you've got this quick circle of fifths, fast changing chords, and it's reverberating through the whole church. And again, it just gives you this feeling of space with minor and diminished chords above it. Now you're back at the dominant of F sharp minor, and we're just going to go back around for our cadence. Back to the French overture, back to the Italian rhetorical, and now F sharp minor, dominant. There, now we're back home, or we are home. So we've modulated to F sharp minor, not to F sharp major. There's a little tail here with a Picardy third. But in all of Bach's binary movements, he does this. He modulates to the minor dominant, and he cadences with a Picardy third. So even though that A sharp is the last thing we hear, it's a Picardy third. It's not that we are in F sharp. Now, before closing off, I'd like to just, in summary, have a look at the overall structure. So we started off with that descending bass line that was establishing the key of B minor, and then the line changed direction and went up, and there was this little 1-4-5-1 in the key of D that I've got in red there. Now I've also put little curved lines above the chords so you can see that the chords last for 2 beats each, and then once we're approaching the cadence at the end of measure 6, they last only for 1 beat each, going to that 1 to 5 half cadence on F sharp. Also, if you look from measure 6, there's a descending line that takes us down to B at the end of measure 7, and then it jumps up to F sharp. And so that is the overall progression of how Bach takes us to that half cadence on F sharp. And now having a look from the half cadence to the end, there's that F sharp chord in measure 8 that lasts the whole measure, and that's leading us to expect a B minor chord. But then at measure 9, we get the B just at the downbeat, and then there's a quick circle of fifths that takes us to a 5 of F sharp minor. And so at measure 8, we're clearly in the key of B minor, and then through measure 9, with that quick circle of fifths, Bach has managed to modulate within one measure, taking us to F sharp minor. That C sharp chord at the beginning of measure 10, if you play an F sharp minor chord afterwards, that F sharp minor chord will now sound like home. So then after that, Bach takes a quick visit back to B minor, and then he goes straight back to F sharp minor. And you can hear in measure 11, it resolves to F sharp minor, not F sharp major. And then there's another 5-1 over the bar line at the end, and that takes us to F sharp again, but this time with the Picardy third. And so that is the overall structure of the first half of the Allemanda. So I hope you found this helpful. As always, let us know what you think at sonatasimpartitas.com.